Am I gonna get some CV action over here? Is he finally gonna come after me? He is. I feel special! Come here, little guy. Well, that was nice of him to give me some of his planes. I'll take it. Yellow, this is OverLordBou with my friend your SAT score again with another anti-air build. Today we're going to be going over the Petro, the tier 10 heavy cruiser for the Soviet Navy. Now for the Captain build, I do grease the gears, which makes your turn time of the gun 33.3 seconds. And you need incoming fire, of course, to be able to make sure that you know if you're being sniped from across the map by those pesky, you know, thunderers or Burmods, of course. The Expert AA marksman makes it where your sector A is a bit stronger, and it also increases your salvo of your flak by +1. So when you have your sector A, which is really nice. The adrenaline rush here, it makes it where the lower your health goes, the more of a buff you get. So it increases your DPM for the main guns, and it also makes your continuous AA increase as well as the lower health you get. You want to go with heavy AP shells because the Petro is mostly going to be using its AP. It has ridiculously good AP pen, ridiculously good angles. It's really important you get the heavy AP shells. Superintendent is for the extra heal, radar, and the DFAA. Very important to get this one as well. The AA gunner increases your continuous AA damage and the flak, so plus 20% to both. This gets your continuous AA to 452, and the damage by shells exposure to the flak to 2637. And the final perk you would get here is the top grade gunner, which makes it when they're within your detection range, it increases the main battery reload by 8%. The secondary reload doesn't really matter for this because the secondary range isn't very long. So with the concealment of 13.8, which is about the optimal range for the main guns, because if you get further than that, the shells start getting really inaccurate and not really precise. You get that extra 8% reload, which is really nice. It gets you down to about 11.9, if I believe. Yeah, 11.9. So on the equipment, I run the main armament modification 1. This is a necessary for the cruisers. I run surveillance radar modification 1 for the plus 20% to the radar. With this build, it has the 12-kilometer detection of ships, and it has an 18-second radar. So with the reload being 13 seconds, it gives you enough time to do one salvo in the very start. And then after that, it gives you a little space to be able to do the second salvo, maybe like 5-second there give room here and take to get another salvo in those pesky DDs. The next modification is the aiming systems mod, where it decreases the dispersion, so it makes it tighter spread. That's the only thing really important here. Besides that's the only thing important. The propulsion modification just makes it you accelerate faster to full speed. The concealment systems makes it where you're 10% less detected, and the dispersion of shells enemy are plus 5%, though they're less likely to hit you. This is very, very important. You need this on this vessel, so make sure you have this here. Now, this one's more of a, you can have this if you'd like or not. Some people may choose the main battery modification to get the extra gun reload. With this, it will then give you the reload to 11.4 instead of the 13. I personally like the extra anti-air, so I use the auxiliary armament as well. And make sure for your consumables, instead of sonar, you have the DFAA, because the DFAA helps you knock out the torpedo bombers and the drop bombers quicker. So with that being said, we're going to go to the replay here, so stay tuned for that. Right back. And we're back. So this is the replay of a match between where me and Soul and Nexus, which are two very close friends of mine that are both in QQ7. While the match gets underway, I'm gonna let SAT Score do some of the technical aspects of the Petro, and I'll let him do that now.
Alright, so as you know, Petro is a tier 10 Russian heavy cruiser. 9 220mm guns. She is well renowned for her AP shells having extremely good pen and landing citadels even on broadside battleships at respectable ranges. In addition to this, she also comes with 360-degree turning turrets for all three of her turrets, a feature I believe is only unique to the Petro. And on top of that, she sports the similar armor scheme to Moskva and Stalingrad, 50mm sections of armor, including most of the bow, and also unusually carries very strong anti-air. And with combined all this, she's garnered a rather notorious reputation, having been one of the prominent ships to be used in clan battles in the last tier 10 season.
Yes, it was mostly just Petros, right, in the last clan season?
Petro was one of the most common cruisers. The next common would be Goliath, and Goliath was more of a counter to the Petros, as Goliath her main armament, her HE can penetrate Petro's armor no problem.
Yeah, it can. The Goliath has tremendously good HE. I love that ship. It's literally reprinting ship is such a troll. I love doing that, making them think that you're almost dead, and just poof, brand new ship. I love it. It's so much fun.
Yep.
So
Goliath can be thought as a mini conqueror, so that's why she deals with Petro so well.
Because yeah, the Petro is really good at getting citadels on broadside, but when a ship is bow in, it has a lot of trouble getting those really nice damage numbers. So something that just shoots or spams HE back at it, it's going to out damage and outfire the Petro, where it's just over time the Petro will lose. It doesn't have enough health regen or the DCP to be able to handle that.
And you've also mentioned one of Petro's problems. Although she has extremely good AP, her HE is not very good at all. In fact, it's on par with about a tier 8 cruiser.
Yes.
So in a pure HE fight, she's gonna lose out to practically every tier 10 cruiser. On top of this, in a cruiser fight, if the enemy is smart, the Petro, both enemies will angle, so Petro's AP becomes less important. Even though Petro has improved firing angles, improved firing penetrations for her Petro, for AP shells, if the enemy is heavily angled, it doesn't matter much, it'll still bounce. So in a pure HE fight, Petro will rely pretty much on her armor to last throughout.
Man, people are smart. They'll aim at the upper bow of the Petro besides the lower half. But usually at longer distances, it's kind of harder to accurately hit the upper half of the bow. But if you get the upper half, you're able to pin. But the lower half is where, if you hit that, you're not going to be able to do any damage at all. Unless you're using HE, then yes, you can. With enough penetration, of course. As long as you're over 50 penetration for the lower bow, you'll get the HE penetration, no problem. HE damage, perfectly fine. But yeah, so far in this match, I'm just doing the typical Petro, where you sit back, you kind of you're kind of in there in the battle, but you're not, and make sure you're able to back up and reposition if you need to. This John Bart's kind enough to give me a nice broadside. Unlucky though, I didn't get any citadels, sadly. But so far we have a lot of team support here. We have a Baltimore, a Xinjiang, a Ferdigrab, Des Moines, and a Musashi. Our Des Moines a little bit too far back, but I guess he's still trying to reposition still. I was going to say earlier that I should have radared way earlier when that lightning was in radar, but that was definitely a mistake I should have done. While his Xiang was fighting the lightning smoked up, and I should have definitely smoked up during that situation, but for some strange reason, this lightning decided to pop out again in front of, all of us. me, a Goliath, a boy, and a Musashi. Like, it's not a very smart move, and it's most likely gonna end in his death. I don't remember if he dies. Oh, that was a terrible salvo.
He probably panicked.
Oh, no. Yep, he died. Ooh, and I got the special talent from the special captain. What's his name again? I always say it wrong.
Kuznetsov?
Yeah, Kuznetsov, where if he gets the first blood, he gets an extra consumable. So now I have 6 DFAs, and 5 heals, and 4 raiders now. So thank you for that. I greatly appreciate that. So now we have this Bismarck that's just slowly just trying to turn out there. Just gonna use some AP shells on him. So far, the CV hasn't come over here yet. He's been busy on the other side of the map. While our FDR Nexus is dealing with their forces in the middle. Looks like he's having fun over there. But yeah, it looks like their team is kind of bunching up right in the middle section. That's always a no-go when your team starts bunching up. It's usually when you get pincer maneuvered and you get killed really fast. But so far, our team's doing a good job of staying separated. We have, for some reason, though, our Fertigrab, though, a little, like, I don't know why he's so far back, but you know, with the Deadeye builds nowadays, it is what it is. Everything's gonna snipe, so Fertigrabs are just gonna be sniping now, I guess. So, what do you think of the match so far?
Every battleship is starting to move towards the back just because of the effects of Deadeye. Even if it's not actually having a impact, even if it's not working, it is affecting a lot of players psychologically as they're encouraged to sit in the back.
Yeah, tier 10s right now are a hell place. I'm just gonna put it blunt, where the Deadeye meta is super strong, while at tier 7s and below, secondary builds are a lot more viable. Tier 8, you get unlucky and you get bumped up to tier 10, you're pretty much screwed. If you try even doing any kind of like fun secondary builds, but tier 7 below, you still get that nice secondary buff, and you can still do a tanky build as well with that, and still have it like viable build. While at the tier 10, it's almost impossible. Oh, this Riga's giving me broadside. Ooh.
Yep. I agree with the assessment, and that just has to do with the map selections. When you get to the high tier maps from 8 to 10, you typically have larger maps, and in addition, battleships get access to concealment, the concealment module in the 5th slot. So that enhances Deadeye even more, because Deadeye works if you're outside of detection, if the ships you're firing at are outside of detection range. In the lower tiers, where tier 7 below battleships do not have access to concealment, that concealment module, and many don't even have access to concealment expert, Deadeye is not as useful.
No. So Deadeye is more of a tier 10 and a tier 9 build, would you say, pretty much? Because once you try doing like a tier 6, I feel like without the concealment, a lot of ships like the Fuso or something like a Bayern, Deadeye wouldn't be as effective because their concealment can't be reduced by that module that it decreases the concealment. Because without that, as soon as something enters your concealment range that's spotted, your Deadeye's gone. So that buff is pretty much wasted at that point. And you have to busy try running away to reactivate it.
Just the meta at the mid tiers just don't cater to Deadeye, unlike the high tiers.
Yeah, exactly. I've been having a lot more fun playing just cruisers and DD curling instead of battleships at the higher tiers, and at the lower tiers I enjoy more of the like battleships with the secondary builds, and I was in a really dumb spot there. I was completely broadside to that Musashi if you saw me looking at it over there. That was a really dumb move by me. I should have not done that. Being broadside to a Musashi is a no-go. They can easily just wipe you out with their shells, especially if it's a Deadeye build. They'll be super accurate.
A little bit more accurate, but at the same time, many players actually overcompensate and sit too far back. So the improved effects of dispersion are actually lost because they sit too far back.
Yep, that's also true.
So right now, Petro is doing what Petros do best, is sitting on and taking negative damage. Because of your 50mm bow or lower bow, it leaves only a small 25mm upper bow sections in which the Bismarck can penetrate you. And the other thing is, Petro actually has a different dispersion curve. Petro is more accurate within close range at about roughly up until 14 kilometers, and but the trade-off is that she gets a worse dispersion curve above 14 kilometers. So Petros are encouraged to sit as closest to the enemy as possible, without exploding, of course.
Yup, and that's why during this whole match I do my best to stay within the 14 kilometers. That's why this particular build has the consumable to 13.8, because once you get outside that 14 kilometers, your dispersion's gonna be way worse, just like SAT said. Oh, this is gonna get... Oh, nice! Very nice. Alright,
Petro sometimes does have to play a long range just because the high tier metas and long range sniping, but if you can get a Petro up close, you're going to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, this Musashi gave me way too many little angles where I could just hit his citadel over and over again. I don't remember though. This was from a few days ago. I've played a lot of matches since then. Yep, that's one citadel.
This is one of the advantages of taking the Petro. As if it was any other heavy cruiser, except for say maybe the Stalingrad, that would have just been a penetration. But here, you're able to citadel the Musashi at about 10 kilometers, which is up until this point almost unheard of.
Yeah, even a lot of cruisers cannot do the penetration that the Petro does. It has super fast velocity AP shells with super improved pen angles. It's pretty much a mini battleship at this point. It's just so much fun to use. I love Petros. It's become one of my favorite cruisers during this meta, and since it has really good continuous AA damage and really good flak, it's become one of my just most played ships currently. Because if I play with my div mates, like one plays a CV, one plays another battleship, or if one plays like a light cruiser instead, it just wallops.
Speaking of AA, now we get to demonstrate one of the other main strengths of Petropavlovsk, and actually one of the main reasons why she's taken in clan battles. So as you can tell, you've basically just decimated the Hawk Crew's dive bomber squadron. Petro actually has one of the best AAs in the game, because, surprise, surprise, Russian ship.
Yup.
So Petro has a very high base continuous AA, and in addition, her AA also reaches out to 6.7. What a lot of people don't know is that the other reason why Petro's AA is so effective is because, ironically, flak. Normally, flak is not very well respected, especially among the higher skilled CV players. But in Petro's case, she actually throws out a lot of flak shells. In this, she throws out about 7 or 8 base, and with Bow's build, you have 9 flak shells per salvo.
Yeah, and with that many flak salvo, it becomes more difficult to dodge, especially when you're either trying to evade their hits, to evade the bombs or the torpedoes. It becomes harder for a CV to be able to dodge, especially for an FDR. Since an FDR is such slow planes, it's very vulnerable to flak. And also the anti-air for the Petro is 6.6. I think it was 6.7 at one time, but they raised it down to 6. It was 6.7, I think, at one time, but they raised it down to 6.6 whenever the final release happened. As you can see here, I even tried to go broadside of these bombs, and I just took some nice AP bombs right on my deck, and that hurt like a mother trucker. But so far, we're doing really good in this match. We've already knocked out 38 planes, done 119,000 damage, got 3 kills. This has been a pretty good match. The damage is a little bit low for a Petro, I feel, though, for like my clan standards, but it's above average, and with the fact that we had so much support on A, being able to do the amount of damage I did was pretty good.
Petro isn't expected to get as much damage. She fires AP, which, and if you're firing AP in a cruiser, it tends to lead to more decisive fights. If you're HE spamming in, say, HIV or Collide, you're going to be farming damage. Yes, you'll be doing a lot, but the enemy is probably going to heal back a lot of it. If you're in Petro, the battles tend to be a bit shorter and more decisive, so the enemy won't get as many heals off before they're dead. And that also lends to Petro's nature playstyle. She plays very aggressively, so if either she dies or the enemy dies. In either case, you're not getting as much damage as the farming HIV or hitting back.
Oh my god, this is so beautiful to watch. Oh, I love watching just full squads getting wiped, dude. It's such a beautiful sight. It's almost unheard of, but like, you know, when you see it, it's just like a masterpiece. All the little planes go everywhere.
Yep, Petro is one of the few ships that has effective AA, especially in today's meta. As you saw earlier, the Aqua was still able to get a double Citadel drop on you, but otherwise the A has been strong enough to wipe out all of his other squads.
Yeah, he's been able to get mostly like the one strikes if there's no DFA, but it's punishing him severely. We've already wiped out 59 of his planes, and that is the match. But yeah, it was a great match. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun talking to SAT. Thank you so much again for your time, brother. We'll see you next time. Talk to y'all later.